There we go. We are now live.
It's thinking about it.
It was definitely thinking about it. Good, and I do apologise that the first thing you saw was my cat's ass mooning you, and probably winking at you as well.
Wink, wink.
So I see in the news today, Prince Philip has died, and DMX, the rapper, died of a heart attack.
Who?
Some rapper, DMX, he did a few. He had a gravelly voice. He
Right.
died of a heart attack. A few people have died.
Yeah, a couple of
In
people
other
have died.
news, eh?
Yeah, a couple of people have died.
So Prince Philip died, and I see the naysayers and the conspiracy artists are saying that he died, as you said, a month ago.
Yeah.
Some people, and hopefully they'll let Harry come back for the funeral, eh? If Meghan will let him.
Yeah, if Meghan will let him. He'll probably want to, but I doubt she'll turn around. You ain't going back to that lot.
It's got fuck all to do with her. It's his granddad, you know.
Yeah. That'd be where I'd put my foot down and go, that's it. I'm sorry, love, but I'm going whether you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly. Well, tonight's show we thought we'd bring you something different. Hi, James, you're right, dude. We are going to do. Well, we're going to talk about space missions that may or may not have happened. Because we were talking about the Apollo 20 mission, wasn't it, where they found the alien girl?
Yeah.
And when you looked right into that, I've seen the videos, and 50% of people say, nah, it's a load of bollocks, and 50% of people say it's real. So I thought, keeping it in that, we'd find some more space missions that may and may not have happened. And we've got enough to keep things going for a good couple of weeks. There's loads more out there. I had to stop. So, yeah.
Yeah, it becomes difficult when you start looking into things like that. I mean, all you've got to do is put in secret space missions, and the amount of different things that come up on the internet that are readily available. Some of them are basically a bit of a joke, and others are quite serious. They're written professionally, and it does answer a lot of questions.
And depends what browser you use as well, because I tried 3 different browsers and I was getting results, and then I tried the Tor browser and it opened up a whole new world. So
yeah, I mean, I use the Google browser every time, but even then, it's page after page of different information, and it's basically just weeding out the obvious ones, to find the ones that actually do make sense. But there are things in there that not a lot of people know, even though it's readily available on the internet. There's a lot of stuff there that people don't necessarily know anything about.
And there's stuff on there that we've talked about in previous shows as well, which just goes to back up what we've talked about, you know?
Yeah.
So,
you got the Apollo missions. Basically, they stopped at Apollo 17. That was the last mission they did. And then it seemed that the space race had come to a standstill because the space shuttle was in development and they were going to be using that to form their STS missions. But, however, there is the rumor that originally the Apollo missions were going to go up to number 20, but they stopped at 17 because of budget cuts and the cost involved to get the Saturn V rocket into space in the first place. I think it was Apollo 18 and 19 were just Earth orbit missions, and Apollo 20 being the one going to the dark side of the moon, where they found these strange structures and this alien being that was mummified as such,
with a third eye.
With a third eye, which to me, to be honest, when I looked at the video, that just like someone had painted that on. didn't actually look like there was an eye socket there.
If you watch one of the other videos, when it comes from the side, they start going like that and things, and something does open when you look at the other videos. I mean, I've looked at the videos, and I'm not convinced either way, because bearing what we were saying before, bearing in mind when this was supposed to happen, the special effects, that because it was the 70s, the special effects to me look a bit too modern to be for that era. So I'm like that about it, you know.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just looked too good to be true, to be honest.
It does, but
You
the
know,
trouble is,
like you
like
say, the special effects they used were sort of a bit more advanced than what they were able to do at the time. But it just seemed to me that, you know, we've the tellings of UFOs date back to primitive man, and for years the information has been suppressed from us. We haven't been given the full truth, even though the evidence is practically there.
Apparently tomorrow is going to be full disclosure in the American government, CIA, the Navy, the FBI, all that lot, NSA. Apparently they're going to do full disclosure tomorrow.
Yeah,
allegedly.
I reckon there'll be bits missing.
Oh, you know that any government's idea of full disclosure is going to be full disclosure that we want you to know.
Yep.
We're not going to give you the real full disclosure.
No, they've probably spent
bite-sized.
They've probably spent the last 15, 20 years employing a couple of people to retype everything that they want to give out to make it look right. This is what we've got. But they've taken out the important stuff, like how they've taken the technology that they've obtained from these craft and used them for certain projects. You know,
we all know a government's never going to tell the truth to the people, ever.
No, they won't. They won't.
Yeah.
You know,
what do you guys in the chat room think? So there's a couple in the chat room, and I'm just wondering what they make of this, because I was watching one of the guys that I watch on YouTube and sometimes talk to him. Oh God, I think he's Bruce Cecil, and he was having a live Q&A, and he was saying about they're going to be doing the full disclosure tomorrow, and as I said to him, it's the US government, it's the same as the British government. They're only going to let you see so much, and they're going to say that's all we know, like they've been saying about UFOs all the way down the years. This is all we know, and we all know now it's complete bollocks. Yeah. So this full disclosure, I think, is going to be a case of full disclosure, my ass.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be full disclosure. I think it'll be partial disclosure. They'll only give you the information they want to give you. Yeah. You know, they're not going to turn around and say, well, actually, the technology that we found on the craft at Roswell, we used to produce the SR-71 Blackbird. They're not going to give out information like that, because that is of too much interest to national security.
Well, I think that the disclosure,
if it poses a threat to national security, they're not going to allow it to come out.
Oh no, but I think the only thing they need to say is, yes, they're here. Yes, we've got some of their equipment, and yes, we've decided we're going to work with them, or some shit like that. That's all they need to say.
I think it's something like 13 million files, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is quite a lot of information.
Do you reckon politicians hate technology? Williams just said in the chat room. I don't think they hate technology, but I think that they make so much money from technology that they have to hide certain technology, because there's certain technology would make what we have now defunct, and like the oil barons and this, that, and the other, and it would just make all these millionaires and billionaires go skin, and that's why they hide a lot of technology from us. It's because to keep us in the dark about things makes more money for other people.
Yeah, there's the technologies available. I was watching a video the other day of a guy in Africa that actually had free renewable energy. Yeah. And it wasn't from solar panels. He'd done something with the Earth's magnetic field, and he'd managed to create a generator that produced its own energy. And they connected this generator to an arc welder to see whether this generator would be able to power it and still hold its charge. And 24 hours later, after they started testing it, they went back expecting the battery to be as flat as anything, and it still had a full charge. And this was just some guy in Africa that thought, you know, I can do this. You can make your own. You can make your own wind turbines at home. You can make your own electromagnetic energy in your own home, and all you've got to do is look it up on YouTube. You know, free energy is out there. It's just the big conglomerate corporations come along and snap this technology up from the inventors, and they stick them in a vault somewhere out the way for when it's needed.
Well, that was the water engine, wasn't it? The water, the engine that runs on water, like internal combustion engine, but a water version. That was invented, and the guy that invented it, they took everything away from him and made him penniless, and he died. You know, and they kept it all hidden and locked up because of the almighty dollar.
There was one case, I think it was about 8 or 9 years ago. A guy had managed to create an engine that had, I think it was 2 tablespoons of water, and it took the vehicle from what would have been the equivalent of Colchester to London and back, which is about, I think it's about 100 miles, on 2 tablespoons of water. And I think it was BP or Shell came along and said, we'll buy the patent off you.
That's right.
And he first refused. Then eventually they doubled their offer, which he then accepted, handed over the patents, and they just disappeared.
Surprise.
And it would be these big fuel companies are standing there going, right, well, okay, we don't want this being released because we'll lose too much money if it does.
Yeah, exactly.
So we buy it off of him, we stick it in a cellar somewhere, it gets forgotten about until we can figure out a way of charging for the water.
You would have thought, especially with power, like coming away from the fuel bit for a second, but especially with power companies, you know, that do the electricity for all the different countries and that. Now, having worked, I can't say which one, but I was security at one particular power station, and I've seen how they work. And these guys have a series of things that they'll get a phone call from another power company saying, we can't make enough electric, can you do us some? And they will start everything up, make some electricity and send it to them. And you would have thought with so many companies getting into the process now that they can't make the electric themselves, why are they not just bringing out, oh, look what we've invented, and start bringing out these bloody things instead of having huge power stations everywhere, have this little thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, my mum and dad are their own energy company. They have solar panels on their house.
I got one here, mate. It's for a sex machine.
They originally went with this government scheme, and they had solar panels put on their house. They had, I think the only thing they had to pay for was an isolator switch.
Yeah.
And they had the battery connected so that it would store their energy. But the return from that wasn't very big, and it was over 5 years. The only way they could sort of see a benefit from the solar panels and give themselves free energy 24/7 was by buying a bigger battery.
Yeah.
And I think it cost them £2,000 to buy this bigger battery. And as a result of that, it literally quashed this 5-year return.
Yeah.
Where it was a gradual from, I think it was something stupid like 0.01 pence a day. On the first day, up to something like £1.27 a day after 5 years. Yeah. But by buying this battery, it was that saving, that return was instant, because the solar panels were filling up the battery. The battery was providing them with the free energy overnight.
Yeah.
So all the excess got tapped back into the national grid, which they were getting paid top money for. And then obviously the following day, battery was being recharged again, so all that excess was come back to them.
So why don't they do a scheme like that over here, where normal human beings can do that?
It is at my mum and dad's house in Woodnow, down the road from me, and they did do the government grant scheme. And if you had the money, you could also buy them and then buy the isolator switch, and do the battery yourself, so that you got the return. But I think the government schemes are starting to come to an end, ready for a new one that's coming out. But a lot of the councils took it up. All the council houses in Colchester have all got solar panels on the roofs.
Yeah, there's a load down in, where is it we have to go? We got to work? Thingy. Where? Selby. Yeah, there's a load down in Selby. All on one of the council estates down there. All the houses are full of solar panels.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that on my estate. The estate I live on is ex-council estate, and the council still do own a few properties, and you can tell which ones are the council houses because they've all got solar panels on.
Yeah.
And the tenant benefits by having discounted electricity. They don't get it for free, but they get discounted electricity, and all the excess goes back into the national grid, which the council get paid for. So the council, although they're charging you council tax, they've slapped these things on your roof, and they're making the money from it, and yet they've got the nerve to charge you extra on council tax.
Yeah, that'd be about right. Well,
yeah,
it was like James was saying. You were saying about Harlow. I remember I used to a long time ago. I used to see a girl up in Harlow, and so I do remember lots of solar panels being there, but that was a while back.
Yeah, and I agree with James's second comment. The pigeons absolutely love the panels. Yep, we've got, I think down at my mum and dad's, there's about 12 pairs of pigeons nesting under my mum's solar panels. And you can hear them. You go up in the loft to sort the loft out, and you go up there, and all you can do is you can hear them cooing underneath the solar panels. You you little bastards, get away. But
I can remember, I'll tell you a funny little story. I can remember when I first lived in London and I was in my flat there. This is before Lindsay and everybody else. I'd hear some of the pigeons going at it, and it sounded just like the upstairs neighbour getting jiggy with his missus. And it was so loud it'd wake me up, and I'd end up shouting, "You two shut the fuck up!" And it was bloody pigeons, and I'm just bollocking my neighbour for shagging something.
But I mean, but that's the thing, and you know, you've got all these noises going on. You're like, what the hell was that? So with James's comment, you know, you've got to do something to block the pigeons' excess underneath them panels.
Whilst we've got you guys in the chat room, what do you think about full disclosure? The American government allegedly tomorrow are going to give full disclosure on aliens and UFOs. Do you reckon they will, or do you reckon it'd be a load of bollocks? I reckon it'd be a load of bollocks as well, but you know, we'll see if they're actually going to. Oh, they've always got excuses. They're politicians. You can tell a politician's lying because, or you know, he's knowing a politician's telling the truth because his mouth's shut.
I personally think that they've gone through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and they've looked at things and they've gone, right, we're not letting that go out because that's too sensitive. We're not letting that go out. We can let those out, but we're not letting that out. You know, they're saying they're releasing 13 million files, but it's probably more like 27 million that they've actually got. And I think what they're doing is they're hoping that, or the public are hoping, that if America are giving full disclosure and they keep to their word, then other governments of the world will do the same.
Unfortunately, though, I mean, James has hit it exactly on the head, as we were saying about the water engines and everything. They're never going to have full disclosure because it's amazing what you can keep.
They've got too much to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Governments of the world have got too much to lose. The likes of most religions will have too much to lose. Like we've said before on here, the Catholic Church had its cardinals into the Vatican City to discuss what they were going to be doing if an alien race visit this planet.
Well, the Pope has openly said there's other people in the cosmos. There's aliens out there. Stop being daft. Our God may be their God. You never know. I mean, but for the Pope to turn around and say that,
exactly. For a normal person to say that, then you know people just brush it off and just go, yeah, whatever, and get on with it. But when someone like the Pope, who is supposed to be pushing that belief system onto people, as such, by saying God created heaven and the earth and all of this, that, and the other. Now, all of a sudden, he's turned around and saying there are other beings out there. Well, hang on a minute. The Bible doesn't tell you this. So it's down to interpretation.
I think Will. I used to work with Will. He's good. He's a good friend. I don't think it matters in any country who the president is, because at the end of the day, it's not the president that pulls the strings.
No,
He's merely a figurehead and a puppet.
I was about to say that myself.
It's the people in the background that pull the strings and tell him what to say to us.
Yeah, and I don't like to go political, but I saw a live feed of Biden in.
Sorry.
Yeah,
they've all got foreskins.
I watched a live feed from a meeting with senators and Biden, and he was being told what to say.
Yeah,
a guy got up and asked a question, and Biden asked him to repeat himself about 4 times. And then a lady walked up to the counter. She explained it to him in layman's terms. He then replied, which nobody could understand. So she had to tell him exactly what to say again. He got halfway through saying it again, and he forgot what he was saying. So she had to repeat it again. And I've heard so many things about him that really, I would say he wasn't fit for office. But I'm not an American, so I couldn't have the right to vote. So I don't have a say.
I definitely think. I mean, first you had Barack Obama, who pretty much most of the world liked. Then you had
Flump,
that fucking idiot Trump and his wig. And now, because he did such a piss poor job, they've now got Biden. And it's just like, when he came into power, nobody heard a damn thing from him, about him, anything. He wasn't seen or heard of. And now when you do see him, he literally looks like there is something not right there. And he's definitely has to be told what to say.
But, yeah, I mean, I heard rumours that he'd got dementia or Alzheimer's, or he'd got something. I mean, if you've got Alzheimer's, you shouldn't be holding office.
No.
So if he's got Alzheimer's, what's he doing there?
Well, these guys are in charge of what they call the footballs, the things with all the codes for the nukes and everything. And it makes you wonder. Biden, if he has got something like Alzheimer's, at the end of the day, it's not his fault. Shouldn't be in power, but it's not his fault. But when you've got complete melts like Trump in there and his wig, and the rest of the world's just sat back looking at the US going.
Yeah, but when you look at him, okay, Trump was a complete melt, but he had 4 years in which he could have pressed that button.
How many people had to pull his hand back?
And if anything, he did the opposite. He stopped North Korea going into meltdown. When Kim Jong-un, or whatever his name is, he's standing there flexing his might and saying, "I'm going to launch this missile and like it or lump it."
Yeah.
And he goes in and says, boy, just calm down. He's reversed it.
I thought Trump was in the room, and that was uncanny.
No, I doubt it. So no, he's not coming till tomorrow to play golf, so you're all right. Okay. But the president is not privy to all information.
Well, no, he's not. I mean, what else have you got? You've got all that going on. You've got a president who, to the rest of the world, looks like there is genuine. And I don't mean it in a rude way. He genuinely looks like there's something not quite right up there. Yeah. So, but now, bless you. And now you've got was it Russia and Crimea, Russia and Thingy Bob that they annexed. They're going to war now. They've all got tanks and shit on each other's border. What was it? Russia and...
Well, it wouldn't be Chechnya, would it?
No, it said Crimea, where the Black Sea is.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember when they annexed that bit A
Yeah.
couple of years ago. It's that they're all starting. That's all kicking off again, and now you've got it's Russia. Russia against. Let me have a look. I will Google this because I can't remember the name of the damn place. Just bear with me. It was Russia and somewhere. Rah rah Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen. Doo-doo-doo. Ukraine. Yeah, Russia, Ukraine. So they've all got their armies lined up on the borders and their tanks lined up on the borders. And apparently, apparently Joe Biden stepped in and went, no, 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 no. And quite frankly, all these big powers, if you've got silly little things like that, they should keep their noses out because that's what's going to kick off World War III.
Joe Biden standing there going, no, 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 no. What am I here for?
Yeah. No, no, no. What am I saying no for?
What have I come here for? I've forgotten.
Hey, Nancy. Yeah. But and all these things that are happening and have been happening very, very recently. People out there who what do they call them? The Nostradamus experts. They're all saying that.
Yeah.
They're all saying that all this that's going on is all stuff that Nostradamus has spoken about, and it's the start of end times, which is not a particularly pleasant thought. But I do think that people say shit just to say shit.
I mean, I struggle with how people can translate it because basically you're taking transcripts that were written in ancient Latin, then you're turning them into modern Latin, and then you're turning them into older English and modern English. So they're being translated 3 times to our modern language, and it is typical lost in translation. It's like the Dead Sea Scrolls written in Aramaic, transcribed into Latin, translated into Italian, then modern English. Those meanings and those stories and everything else that's been written have lost their translation altogether and could mean something completely different.
Carry on. I'm being pestered for cat food. Just bear with me.
So, you know, I mean, it's like Nostradamus supposedly predicted the rise of Hitler, Saddam Hussein, and the Gulf War, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's quite easy to turn around.
Have you ever read any of this stuff? Have you ever read any of this stuff?
I have read some of it, but the problem is it's the translation.
Exactly. And if you try and read it in a modern parlance, it makes no sense.
No. And it's because it's been written in ancient Latin rather than modern Latin or modern English that the translators have probably got most of it all arse about face.
The only one he got really, really close was the Hitler one about Hitler, and he called him Hister.
Yeah, but the thing is, look at Earth's history, and who hasn't been at war?
Everybody.
You know, everybody has been at war at some point or the other. So where the translations go astray would be, you know, going from the ancient Latin or Italian into modern Latin or Italian, and then into English. Chinese whispers.
You've seen what James has said.
Yeah.
You know, I think one day we're going to have to get James to come and join us on there because he's always got some good ideas and comes out with some good stuff.
He could say, this filing cabinet, I don't want this no more. Take it to the scrap heap. And then someone turned around, and it would probably be one of Trump's companies that pick it up. Hey guys, look what we just found. Yep.
Yeah, I remember reading about the earthquake. Yeah.
But again, you know, there may be another big earthquake in LA, but LA gets earthquakes all the time. Earthquakes can't be predicted. All you can go by is the seismic readings they get. And if there is a rumbling, you know there's going to be earthquake coming. It's just a case of when.
Either that or somebody's going to fart. I'm not sure.
They've been saying that about Washington being a super volcano, and they're all been saying we're living on borrowed time. They've been saying that for 30 odd years.
Isn't Yellowstone Park? That's got a super caldera underneath it, hasn't it?
Yeah, but that's part of the super volcano.
Yeah.
It's that big that it spans most of Yellowstone National Park. So
If that
um,
goes off, it takes out half of North America, doesn't it?
yes,
And we
it
get
is a big
basically
one.
nuclear winter from the
But
ash.
they've been threatening that for the last 30 odd years, maybe longer than that. That it's going
Mm.
to blow soon. We don't know when, but you know, if that was me, I'd be doing a bit of excavating and sticking as much cold water into that vault as possible um, to try and stop it. You know, seismology is a very weird game, and it's a case of working out what you're going to do and when you can do it. It's the
You could
same as a
turn it into the world's
volcano.
biggest steam engine.
Yeah, yeah, you
There
can
you go, unlimited power.
whisk us away. There we go.
That's that one sorted.
Steam turbines from the geyser. You know,
Um, so moving away from politics and all that crap that's going on and Nostradamus, etc., etc. What do you make of all these things that I did the research about these alleged space things that have happened? Some of them I think possible. Some of them I think come out of the realms of Star Wars and Doctor Who.
yeah, I think there was quite a few of them that were a bit far fetched and quite possibly had been dropped by the script writers of Star Trek and Doctor Who. But then some of them does have a little bit of weight to them.
Solar Warden, the Solar Warden one, that interests me.
Right, hang on. So I'll need what I need to do is I need to get back to the email because you sent the email to me and I read through it all. And the issue I have is when we go live, I go live on my phone and I can't access my emails on my phone. So I'm accessing them on my laptop.
I'll just read out the first bit. According to the Solar Warden theory, there's a secret fleet of spaceships that keeps a prominent presence in our solar system. Theories differ as to the purpose of this top secret space fleet, and some believe that it patrols the outer reaches of space and defends us against any would-be alien attacks. And others believe that the project is being used to colonize parts of the solar system, possibly for the so-called elite.
Yeah, why not?
I don't see. I think that's one of the things. With the amount of ships that go up into orbit and with payloads and this, that, and the other, you've already got the International Space Station out there. Who's to say there's not something else over there that allows you to build big ships? We don't know.
Well, I mean, when was the last bolt on onto the International Space Station? You know, when was the
A
last
few months
living
ago,
capsule?
wasn't it? A few months ago, wasn't it? It was a lab or something.
Right. So you've got that going in, but it hasn't really increased that much in size, has it?
No.
And you would have thought that the amount of time it's been up there, it would have been a lot bigger than it actually is.
That's what I mean. Who's to say there's not some sort of shipyard, for want of a better word, up there?
Yeah, it warrants looking into because obviously you've got an International Space Station. It's supposed to host international astronauts, and yet they're limited to how many astronauts they can have up there.
Yeah,
they're limited to how many they can take up, but someone's got to return it back anyway. So there's no reason why they can't just keep building it and making it bigger and bigger, because if they want to use it as a platform for further exploration of space, it would need to be larger.
Yeah, with the amount of stuff that's gone up there, you'd have thought it, as you said, would be a hell of a lot bigger.
But the problem is a lot of that now, a lot of space that, or the area around the orbit of the Earth, is literally a garbage yard, isn't it?
It's debris, isn't it?
You know, it's a case of you're going to go up there, you're going to have to be careful on what you do, simply because you could go up there and just drive headlong into a fragment of rocket that's whizzing past at 1,000 kilometers per second.
Well, what do you reckon to the Solar Warden theory then?
Well, I've got to get to it first. There we go, Solar Warden. Right, I've got on it now. Yeah. again, we're looking at the governments again, aren't we? The fingers are all pointing at the governments. National Security Archives released documents detailing Project Horizon, a secret project started in 1959 to study the possibility of setting up a permanent base on the moon. You know, so this is already in conjunction with some of the videos that we've seen about bases on the moon. So could this be part of Project Horizon? And they're just not wanting to tell us until the average Joe has managed to find the pictures.
Well, a lot of them, Project Horizon does tie in with the Solar Warden, because as I say, the amount of stuff that's gone up there, and as you said, that you would have thought that the space station would be quite a bit bigger than it is. It's not. So, and plus you've got all the junk floating about. Why can't you recycle a lot of that? If they did, who's to say there isn't something out there or on the moon or whatever? There's some sort of a way station or some sort of dockyard. I don't know.
Yeah, this will actually lead me to one of the articles I found about one of the space shuttles.
Oh, Taylor popped in to say hello.
Hi, Taylor. Bye, Taylor.
Bye, Taylor.
There was I'm trying to find it now, but there was a section there where they were saying about there was 11 space shuttle flights that had a classified payload, which would have been used by the National Reconnaissance Office from 1969 onwards. And they were basically launching spy satellites into space as part of the SpySat agency. However, apparently one specific payload went a bit wonky, and it didn't want to work properly, and the solar panels didn't open. Now, rather than being $1 billion flop, the space shuttle managed to catch up with it. And the arm went out, grabbed it, pulled it back into the hold. They fixed the solar panels. They then released it. Solar panels then opened, and off it went. And that was a satellite called Onyx.
I remember that.
And that was on STS-27. And that they actually told us about the release of the satellite, but they didn't tell the public that they actually caught up with the satellite, brought it back into the payload, fixed it, and then re-released it and set it all up.
Well, it's like, as James has said in the chat room, Dark Side of the Moon would be perfect place to put a secret station. And the thing is, a lot of these things that are on the research that I did, and I've sent in that, a lot of them all tie up. Like we were talking about Horizon, Solar Warden, and there's quite a few of them all talk about bases on the moon, dockyards out in space, whatever.
Yeah.
Building these ships for the Solar Warden, so it's permanent space fleet. And Trump, of course, has supposedly started the Space Force, which is a branch of the USAF.
Yeah.
But makes you wonder, was that going on way, way, way before he came out with it?
Yeah, and like obviously all of these bits, they, like you say, they all literally coincide. And when you've got this business with the dark side of the moon, you know, if you've got a base on the dark side of the moon, which could be a launching platform for further afield, it needs to be on the far side of the moon.
Yeah,
there's no point pointing it. There's no point pointing a multi-million-pound rocket on this side of the moon, because the only place it's going to go is come straight to here.
Well, it's like
its trajectory needs to be going out away from the planet, not towards it.
Well, say when we've spoken before about when they first landed on the moon, and Buzz Aldrin and that lot, they're all going, they're watching us, they're over there, because when they switched channels, didn't they? They said Houston switched to channel such and such, which was their emergency channel, and then when they switched to it, they were like, guys, there's people here watching us, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is actually something there. And like I've just stated there, that the space shuttle mission STS-27.
Mm.
You know, between 1982 and 1992, there was 11 flights went up. Who's to say that they hadn't gone up there with this satellite, launched it, but also had something else in their payload that was used to go further afield, or they went up there and they picked up all of this scrap that was floating about. They'd already proved by saying they managed to capture hold of Onyx and fix it.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why they couldn't have gone round Earth's orbit and captured some of the other debris that's floating around up there, which is what they should be doing. You know, to be responsible for the environment, regardless of whether it's on Earth or in space. There's so much debris going around out there that it's going to be a danger to anybody that leaves Earth's orbit. The last thing you want to do is put a £10 billion rocket up into space, and no sooner as it left Earth's atmosphere, then a microscopic piece of metal goes whizzing right through the middle of it and blows it all up.
Well, the thing is, there's a guy, because skeptics would say that to have a space fleet would cost thousands, millions of dollars, pounds, whatever we couldn't afford. But who's to say that we're not doing it in conjunction with other people from elsewhere? And there's this doctor, Dr. Eric Norton, who is a consultant with NASA, and he stated he believed that there was a fleet of technologically advanced spaceships on the other side of the moon, and he stated that he first discovered the fleet in 2012. Within 12 months, he claimed that Mars was now much farther behind the fleet than it was the previous year, suggesting that whoever it was on their way here. So what he's saying is there's a fleet of spaceships out there, and they've been tracked.
Yeah.
So is that our spaceships, or is that our buddies' spaceships, or is that, are we going to get aliens coming down here trying to sleep with our food and eat our women? I don't know.
But again, that would back up the conspiracy theory from the governments, wouldn't it? You know, the reason why some of the stuff would be withheld, the fact that they have had help technologically from another race, and who's to say, you know, the only reason why they're saying it would cost us millions and millions is because of the raw materials needed,
but which is in abundance floating around our
exactly. You know,
orbit at the moment.
We have to excavate the raw materials to build the rockets, to refuel, to fuel up the rockets, etc., to get them into space.
There's also the stuff on the moon,
and you've also got to provide the manpower. But we know there's abundance of all those materials on the moon. But if there is help from another race, who's to say they haven't brought those materials to help us?
Well, you never know. This full disclosure, they may tell us.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think they will, to be honest. But it's, you know, it's like Black Knight. You know, one of the
so many theories about that thing.
Probably one of the most famous unidentified objects in orbit around the Earth is Black Knight.
It's supposed to be a 30,000-year-old satellite, isn't it?
Yeah. But when you look at the pictures, it doesn't look anything special. It just looks like a piece of rubble.
It looks like a black tarpaulin. It looks like literally. Yeah. Do you know what? What it was? The shuttle, one of the shuttles was up there, and it got a bit too sunny, and they went, put cover over the windscreen, keep everything in here a bit more chilly, and then it was that, and it blew off the window with a solar wind, and that's what the Black Knight is. It is a tarpaulin.
The thing is that we know for a fact that asteroids enter our comets and meteorites enter our atmosphere. Well, if they skip across our atmosphere, so they don't exactly go into our atmosphere, skim across the top, there would be enough heat given off by the friction of it hitting our atmosphere that it would start to burn and go black.
Yeah.
So who's to say that the United States or Russia or China launched a rocket into space to release a satellite for, I don't know, Beijing Chinese satellite station,
So I got a kitten trying to back me bollocks. Back it in.
It's gone into space. The rocket that was used to get it up there is now going to go back to Earth. But the trajectory that it was on has made it skim across the top of the atmosphere.
Burnt it up.
Burnt it up, and it's not come into the atmosphere. It's skimmed across the top, and it's got stuck in outer Earth's orbit. And that's what they're seeing, is just this burnt up piece of debris from a previous thing. But then it flips it on the coin when they turn around and say that it's strange how Black Knight seems to be following things at random. Yeah. 1 minute it's the International Space Station, then it will be other satellites, or it will be near the vicinity of one of Elon Musk's rockets releasing 10 satellites at once and things like that. It starts off sort of being mysterious, but then when you look at the different theories, it sort of starts then becoming more obvious as to what it really is. I don't personally think that Black Knight is anything extraterrestrial.
No, I don't think it's anything nefarious.
It's just the way people have described it and assumed that it is.
It's like they were trying to say that there's all those that say that the moon is hollow, and if you hit it with a hammer, it makes a ringing noise, and that it's a satellite station that's put there to watch us because we were put here by the Nibiru. We were genetically manipulated by the Nibiru, and we're an experiment, and the moon's their base that they used to watch us.
Well, that's what the reptilian guidance didn't it, with the secret Nazi space program?
Yep. I wondered when you were going to get to that. One. I've been looking at it now.
Well, we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Yeah, we were saying about how the when we were doing about the SS and the occult side of the SS. We were discussing about how they believed that they were interbred with another race from out of our solar system, and hence why the Aryan race was completely different to everything else. And of course, then that fits in with the Nazi space program, and how much you believe of that, because obviously we've seen there's movies out there of the Germans being on the moon after World War II finished. There's also the rumor that there was a Nazi base in Antarctica. There's also rumors of there being a base up in the North Pole.
So there was a battle in the Second World War in Antarctica. I can't remember the name of the admiral, but this admiral took a fleet of ships with him and went, there is a base, there's a Nazi base in the Antarctic. We're going to go and give them belts in the mouth. And when they got there, allegedly, 2 discs, UFOs, came out of the water and had a full-on scrap with them, and they had to beat a hasty retreat.
Well, it wouldn't be surprising because you had the reports of Foo Fighters throughout the war. So why not?
The thing is I'll try and find it for next week, but the thing is when you read the reports and you read who the guy is, and he made the report himself, it's very, very credible, and it's not the sort of person who would come out with that stuff, because he was made a laughing stock, and I don't think that an admiral would put his neck on the line like that just to be made a laughing stock.
Yeah, it was Operation Tabarin.
You know what I mean, though? Yeah.
I'm fast. Operation Tabarin was a secret British Antarctic expedition during World War II. It was launched in 1943 under the pretense of patrolling the Antarctic for German commerce raiders and U-boats that threatened Allied shipping. The expedition resulted in the establishment of a number of bases, thus strengthening British territorial claims to the area. The expedition led the collection of large amounts of rock, fossil and botanical specimens, as well as meteorological, topographical data and glaciological measurements. And it ended in 1946.
No, it was an American one, the one I'm thinking about.
Following the outbreak of World War, and then it says about how the Americans joined in. 13th of January 1941, the German cruiser Penguin began attacking the unarmed and unescorted Norwegian whaling fleet down there.
Type in Operation High Jump. I think that's it. Or type in the Battle of Antarctica. And those of you in the chat room as well, type in the Battle of Antarctica, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
The Battle of Antarctica, a decisive moment in the war. There we go. Oh yeah, look at that. There's a nice UFO. Lovely. Yep.
And again, it's one of those
an artistic
things.
impression.
Oh yeah, they always do such saucy pictures, don't they? There's it's one of those things when you read into it properly. There's something there. I genuinely think there's something about it.
And like we said there with Operation Tabarin, and I just said that the Americans then jumped in off the back of that. You had Operation Tabarin, which finished in 1946, and then Operation High Jump then started when the Americans took over. Because it says that they started that in 1946 when USA task forces went to Antarctica to destroy the remaining bases of Fourth Reich and capture a new unique armament, flying saucers. However, on March the 3rd, 1947, the squadron was attacked by the enemy and forced to flee. The expedition failed, but 71 years later, players have a chance for a rematch in the mode of a team of 12 ships will face flying saucers. I've got a sneaky suspicion they're talking about a computer game here. This is World of Warships. It's about
Admiral Byrd. No. You look for the one with Admiral Byrd. Ignore that. You're looking at a game. Admiral Byrd.
Oh my God.
BYRD.
You said look up the Battle of Antarctica, so I did, and it come up a decisive moment in the war. So I started reading it, and it turns out to be World of Warships.
Admiral Byrd, his name was.
Right. Now this one's going back to Operation Tabarin as well. Amazing full story of top secret World War II Antarctic mission to spy on Nazi troops in the South Pole. And they're saying it was Operation Tabarin as well. Operation Tabarin was said to be a top secret project to establish military bases and watch German and Japanese activities in the freezing South Pole, but is said to have other motivations. It was set up to monitor German and Japanese. The incident led to HMS Queen of Bermuda patrolling the area between South Georgia and South Shetland Islands and Weddell Sea, and the expedition soon followed.
Hang on, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a link in the chat room, and then you can all at your own pace have a look at that. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
Because everything so far, it all ties into the same stuff. UFOs, aliens, and now, of course, we have the Germans who, Wolfie, bring out the little ship, yeah?
I mean, apparently anybody that went there, participants in the Operation Tabarin, were even awarded the Polar Medal in 1953. So
something happened there, but it's like all this we've said about. I mean, there's something in it, like bases on the dark side of the moon. There could be something in it. And when you look at all the other stuff that we've spoken about so far tonight, they all tie into the same bloody thing. There
Yeah.
could be something there, and things have been hushed up, and it could have been there going for ages.
Yeah, I mean, you said, well, I dare say you must have seen the videos of what we call it, the entrances to vast hangars in Antarctic.
Yeah.
So there's always these rumours, and okay, it could be rock formations or part of a glacier that's sort of disappearing. But it just seems all a little bit too convenient and a little bit too obvious. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
And I just think, it's a bit
misdirection.
Yeah.
Like Area 51, we'll keep you guys still thinking that there's stuff going on at Area 51, whilst we go back here and we do this shit over here.
Right, I found the article you're talking about. It's called Air and it's on a page called Air and Space, where they're talking about Admiral Byrd. And someone is actually interviewing someone called Ballinger. I wonder if that's the same Ballinger that took on Skinwalker Ranch. Is that Bollinger?
That's a nice bottle of wine, mate.
I don't know. Who was it that took on Skinwalker Ranch?
There was two, wasn't there? There was
before the current guy.
Yeah, he was a bit Elon Muskish, wasn't he? Secret millionaire, very, very strange surname. In fact, I'm sure he shared a surname with a mass murderer.
Yeah, I think that's the guy that owns it now, to be honest.
What's his bloody name? I can't remember. Again, Skinwalker Ranch. There's something going on there.
Yeah, I want to go there. I actually talked to the owner.
I'd love to, mate. Absolutely love to.
Trying to remember his bloody name.
Well, if they'll allow you to take a small team over there.
Brandon Fugel owns owns Skinwalker Ranch as part of, I think it was the Shell conglomerate. And he just doesn't allow any old Tom, Dick and Harry to go in there.
Yeah.
Apparently it is very difficult, but it's I'm trying to figure out who owned. I'll put it in who owned Skinwalker Ranch.
It was his surname. Yeah, as soon as you hear the surname, you'd be like, yes, him.
Before
Moustache, dodgy looking.
Brandon Fugel. It was some big. He owned quite a lot of stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
He had some big businesses.
But he had loads of experiments done there, and something happened in a couple of the experiments, and he sealed all records, and he won't share them with anybody. He's like, nope.
Yeah, but there was a lot of weird stuff went on there, and there was an area there where they of the Sherman Ranch where they tried to gain access to, and as soon as they opened up the manhole cover, the guy started to be ill and go all freaky and all sorts. So. But is that anything to do with UFOs, or is it more to do with the ancient Indians?
Bigelow, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just got it. Robert Bigelow. He had it from 96. Yeah, he's a gigolo. 1996 to 2016. So he had it for 20 years. And then Brandon Fugel took it over. But that's under the name of Adamantium Holdings.
I would love to go there.
I've part of Skinwalker Ranch's group. And they've been quiet lately for some reason. But we used to have loads of in-depth conversations about some of the experiments and some of the sightings that have been in that area. And a lot of people are still unsure as to whether it's extraterrestrial that's causing the issues, or whether it is more supernatural to do with the feud between the two native tribes that fought over the land
Yeah.
at Sherman Ranch, because it was something to do with one tribe enslaved the other tribe, and the other tribe rose up against that tribe, and it started this feud between the two tribes.
Or is it one of those places where, because I believe there are places like this all over the world, but one of those places where you've got all sorts of doorways using all sorts of energies and they just all converge at this point?
Yeah, well, it can be down to ley lines meeting up, but you've got the two reservations that were there were two different tribes. And of course, we know about the spiritual side of Native American Indians and their spirit animals. So, I mean, obviously, as a result, I mean, it was the Utes, I think it was. Yeah, it was the Ute. I can't remember the name of the other Indians. But I mean, it's been things like they've seen strange orbs, strange animals. You know, some really weird stuff has been going on there, and you know, they haven't been able to prove anything, even when they've had investigators there. They haven't come up with enough evidence to prove otherwise, even though they've noticed electromagnetic anomalies that are stationed 200 to 2,000 feet up in the air.
That's right, yeah.
And pinpointing down to an area underground, which would have been sort of like the size of the Arecibo Space Telescope.
Yeah.
They're saying that whatever it is underground is the size of the, you know, like the size of the Arecibo Space Telescope,
it's
and he's pointing to this point up in the sky.
That's
which
right.
is where all that energy is being pointed to. So you know, until more research is done now, again, are we ever going to know the full truth? Because it's quite possible that Fugal might just turn around and say, you know, you've done enough.
Well,
you know,
before, I'd love to be somebody there doing research, I tell you, but before we disappear, Oumuamua. All the people are now trying to say, no, it wasn't a visitor from another galaxy. It was a sliver of a planet or a meteorite. Do you think it's a case of we got really close to what it is and the government's have gone, oh, shit. No, it wasn't this, it was this. Like they do with every fucking thing.
It's Project Blue Book, isn't it?
Thank you.
Basically,
whatever happens, unless they come out in the sky in front of thousands, millions, and they stay there so that all the news cameras can be on them and everything, that's the only way you're ever going to 100% say, yeah, they're here.
Yeah. You know, they are going to try and cause as less panic as possible. So by trying to lighten the load on people, by coming out with some cock and bull story.
Exactly.
I agree with you. Yeah. You know, they are just going to try and withhold it.
Hello.
So they are going to try and blindside people. They are going to try and bend the truth, so they can withhold that information for as long as possible. No,
dude.
Oh, that's a nice reply. But
I think what remains. He sounded like Cat from Red Dwarf then. Wow, that's man. This is man.
He hasn't been watching Red Dwarf, honest.
I think we shall see what comes out tomorrow. That's all I'll say. Because we've got loads more we can discuss next week anyway in regards to secret space missions. But I think we shall, as James has said in the chat room, keeping the masses under control. We'll see if and what they come out with tomorrow.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they come out with. And maybe they might do what a lot of governments don't do with people that need assistance with things. A bit like us with Ethan and his autism, unless you actually go to them or go to a certain group within the government, they will not just tell you where you can go for certain things to help him. You've got to find that information, because the government doesn't want to lose too much by just advertising the fact that it's available. So they make you do the groundwork. And I think that's what all they're doing. They don't want to let you know. They want you to do the groundwork. And then when it becomes blatantly obvious, then they'll go, well, yeah, we did, but we didn't want to upset anybody. We didn't want to cause mass hysteria or mass panic, thinking the world was going to come to an end because an alien race was coming down and saying hello. So we thought by doing it this way, it would be easier on you guys and you'd understand it better. But it won't stop people still turning around and saying, but why have you lied to us since God knows when?
Yeah. I think, in summary, if this was the late 70s, early 80s, yes, people would still be scared. Even up to as far as the mid 90s, early noughties, people would still be scared. Now, I don't think anybody's going to be scared, apart from maybe some extremely religious people. I think the world's ready for it. You know?
I think also there along the lines as well is they could turn around and say, well, you told us that we were lying. You told us we couldn't tell anybody. And now you've released that information. You have ruined my life. I'm going to sue you. Oh dear, hang on a minute. The person that told me that just so happens to be dead. I can't sue a dead man. So therefore, I may as well just carry on keeping my gob shut.
I think they need to just open theirs and tell everybody once and for bloody all. Either that, or the good ETs need to come down and go, "Hey guys, we're here."
Yeah, yeah, and
That'd
then you look on the internet and you see all these weird video clips of news presenters with their reptilian eyes, and you're just like, oh my God, you could get better CGI graphics than that, surely.
Well, didn't they a while back? They tried to say Beyonce was as well, didn't they? Beyonce, the Queen, Prince Philip, somebody else, Jay-Z, twat, somebody else, and somebody else.
There was some big news broadcasters in America. I can't remember, it was Fox News or something. They said someone was one of these reptilians, and if you look closely, you'll see the inner eyelashes blinking, or the inner eyelids blinking sideways. And you look, and then you go, "Oh my God! Did they forget to airbrush the bit over the top outer eyelid? Because you could see it clearly moving across the top." And you're like, "Get some better CGI."
Britney Spears, that was another one. They tried to say she was. Yeah. Anyway, on that note,
well, her boobs did get rather large rather quickly.
I'm not complaining. I thank you very much for listening to our name drivel again here on Facebook and on YouTube. And we'll be back next week talking about some more supposed space missions and alien stuff. Sorry, alien stuff. Oh, look, there's a dinosaur. And remember, we'll be on Sunday, Taylor and myself, with the rearview mirror, doing some other weird and wonderful top 10 things. Thank you for listening. Thank you for jumping in and talking to us and coming out with your quotes and suggestions in the chat room. Love it. And thank you for joining us. So until then,
ciao for now.
See what tomorrow brings. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. It's bye-bye from him.
And it's goodbye from him.
Bloody hell, we almost got it right. See you later, guys.